Hello everyone, Supreme Cam here. So let's actually go over to the permanent alteration for the we got the what is it, Gusion City, a Rebake City, and then we also have the Barbatos 6th over here. So let's actually start off with the Barbatos to begin with over here. So this whole set of the Barbatos is actually going to be a defender type unit, kind of unit, because if you guys actually watch the Iron Blood Orphans, this appears to 6th form, appeared it on like the last I want to say like on episode 24 25 where he is defending like the city because Cordelia was in the conference room, whatever she was doing like a big old speech for like his, what is it, I don't remember, it was for like the human rights and all that stuff, but anyway, he was like defending the whole city against the, what is it, glazed eye. So it's not surprised that they would put this guy as a defender type because of that. But in terms of the word type for this guy, I would say it's not what you expect from like, a traditional, supposedly like a melee over here, because both those tags. So two tag is gonna be ace exclusive and Gundam type already, which is any main build nowadays. This is geared towards like that shot build, but even a shot attack does not really reflect it in that manner. And then the other word tag we have is going to be for urban area, which that is of course he was in the city, right? So not surprised we have that. But let's actually look at the stat of this guy over here. It's not going to be the most impressive in terms of the melee. Shot department is going to be an impress as well. This tag over here, you want to be doing like a shot build space for or build for this one because just of the word tag over here. So it's going to be really hard. I want to say it's hard, but the stat over here doesn't reflect like anything of of value, right? In terms of the portrait over here, the first portrait will be good for that Nishi challenge put out, but yeah, you don't even need to really alterate it because the second portrait is only gonna recover 200 armor gradually. What is that base level 1? Only 50. Yeah, I feel like this one you don't really need to alterate it just because of the low stats. Word tag wise, you're looking at for urban area and ace exclusive. Yeah, probably not your best buddy over here. So I would say this head is probably something you can just automatically see. But do keep in mind this is going to be a permanent alteration. So for whatever reason later down the road you need a Barbatos 6th form head over here, you can just grab it anytime you want. In terms of that, you're only going to use 3 alteration tools over here, so not anything of like those limited time unit where you're gonna need their specific airbag and all that. So these you can alterate anytime in your liking over here. So but I'll highly skip the head over here for alteration. It's not really gonna benefit you throughout your build and whatnot. Alright, in terms of the chest over here, we have the same word type again for urban area and ace exclusive. And yeah, we can take a quickly look at the trait. It doesn't really boost anything of like any shot build department over here is going to be strictly melee from the second portrait. Yeah, it's also going to raise shot damage up by 10%. So you are going to, that is you receiving that. So whatever you receive is going to up that by 10% over here. So the first portrait is going to be strictly defender type. So this, like I said, this unit is more heavily towards like a defender build over here. Shot damage reduced by 35 is not the best. That's not the best. Because it's for every hit, so whatever that hit is it's going to reduce only by 35, so it's not going to be the most helpful. So I would say this one is probably another skip as well, because there are so many chests out there that has like double buffing already. I feel like you don't want to really waste like a first portrait or one of the portrait and all that. So even with the setup here, it's a little bit more of like a mediocre side. I would say 4K on both department is for a standard alteration, I guess is fine. But let's actually compare that to like, I don't know, like the Master Gundam, I guess. So in terms of the Master Gundam, this one is heavily towards like a melee build, obviously. So you do see a increasingly bigger, just a flat melee attack and then melee defense. So yeah, if we do it in this kind of fashion, right, just compared to like previous ones, what else is another permanent? Let's see. I don't. Okay, red frame maybe. What about this guy over here? So 2863 and then 3883. Okay, so I'm just gonna remember the first 2 digits, 28 and 38. Compare that to the sixth form over here. What are we looking at? Okay, so this one is slightly better in terms of the defense, but is the defense is not gonna make up like the majority of it. Even with the change here, it's gonna be minimal. So I guess this is around the same area with like your other permanent alteration. Then I guess that in that case is fine, right? But do you want to alterate it? Probably not. This one is highly skippable. Like if you even look at it, the red frame has the better portrait, 100% better portrait in the counterpart of like melee department over here. So skip the chest as well. Alright, moving on to the arm over here, we do have an EX skill over here. So this one is going to be a physical shot EX skill over here. So A minus and B power over here. Alright, so this one is good. So for the Nishi challenge, editing with like really high piercing. So this one over here having an A minus. What is it at base? Alright, so at B, I would say B should be sufficient, to take down the first match of like the Nishi challenge and all that. But in that case, you're gonna have to pair it up with some, EX skill piercing, and then you just slice it right through your, enemy's defense like a butter. So that's one trick to it. So bring really high piercing EX skill, and then slap on like a few piercing, and then you even with like their extreme, them saying boasting whatever defense they're calling it. You can even go head to head with like they say really high shot attack or shot defense. You can bring like a shot EX skill that has like I don't know, like S power piercing or even A plus piercing. That is gonna pierce through that defense like a butter. So that's how piercing is gonna work in that event and all that. So if you guys are still struggling on that event, all right. So in terms of the stat over here, the arm is gonna be expected to be too low for to be like for arm melee over here. So if it was like around that 10k, I might give it like a look into it, but only gonna be upper 9k is not good. But in terms of the shot attack, you are okay. You're looking a little bit impressive over here, coming at 5k over here. So for whatever reason you need a arm, for that stat, I guess you can do this over here, but make sure this one is either going to be your sub slot, or if this one is going to be your sub slot, for example, make sure your main part has some portrait, so you don't run into a situation where you have two EX skill on main and sub over here, or in there vice versa. If you're going to put this on your main slot for a shop build, for example, you want to make sure your sub slot has a portrait, so you don't want to run into that situation where, oh, I don't have any portrait. What do I do? So I would say this one is pretty respectable in terms of stat over here. 5k is pretty good for a standard part over here. So I'll give this one a thumbs up over here. That is if you want this either as like your EX skill, or if you want this for like pure stat stickings and all that. So alright, moving on to the leg over here. Let's see what we have. Okay, so I was talking about these kind of portrait over here, piercing. So these one will break your like extremely high defense. So if you have, I don't know, like let's say around 50, let's say if you have around 50 EX skill boost piercing over here, I feel like in any case scenario, like even B piercing should be able to get by those extreme high defense and all that. And since the second portrait is actually pretty excellent over here. It's your traditional with speed attribute, EX skill power boost by 35%, but keep this in mind with 2 restriction over here. First, you're gonna have to use a defender job over here. So for any of you guys who are using a have a pretty defender type build over here, I feel like this can be beneficial. But the second part, you're gonna have to be using an S attribute as well. So if you guys can fulfill these 2 requirements, I think this will be a pretty good standard leg to alterate and all that. But in terms of stat over here, I would say the overall stat is gonna be on a really low tier over here. Gonna be 38 upper 3k for both over here, with the shot department being a little bit like the mid 3000 and all that. So I don't know, like I feel like the stat alone just makes me not want to alterate it. But like I said many times, at the end of the day, it's not gonna be what kind of like parameters that you're looking at. It's gonna be more of like those kind of portrait you're dealing with over here. So this one 35% EX skill power boosting is gonna be really powerful, universal. So I feel like this I can give it a little bit of a credibility and all that. But in terms of the stat, I'm not gonna worry it too much about it because like it's just extremely low, even for a standard part over here. All right, moving on to the backpack over here. This one is gonna be a custom EXQ, a bloody wrench. So this one they're gonna give you the S power. Okay, so that's good. Also gonna be giving you everyone's favorite. Gonna do some health recovery over here, and also gonna raise your melee attack up by 39% to your squad. So this one is gonna be a pretty healthy, kind of effects for your EX over here. So that is a pretty good one. I'm pretty sure a lot of people should have at least maybe one of this. If you want to get a good effect testing EX, I feel like this one can do the job no problem. In terms of the overall stat, you are looking at that low tier 4K over here, which is not going to be anything impressive. Like I said again, in terms of the word tag, again, we have for urban area and Gundam type. So nothing too spectacular in that manner. This is probably going to be like, for shop build base in terms of the tag. But there are some melee units that do have, Gundam size. So in that perspective, you can kind of subslot that. You can, I don't know, you can probably keep for urban area for whatever reason you do want to run it, but for Gundam type, you wanna check that out ASAP over there. All right, there. So when I look at all these parts over here, I didn't really spy on any of the parameter anything too outstanding, so I didn't really make a note onto that in that manner. So all these parts are they're just okay. It's just like a little better. So nothing to be like really like to be excited about and all that. But in terms of the sword, this one is going to be the sword category. In terms of the overall stat, it's not too bad. 11k is actually sitting pretty good for like these standard weapons over here. So this one is going to be a maze rush over here. It's going to do a minus power. Wow, okay. Gonna blow your enemy with your what is it? What wrench is that? Wrench maze over here. Then loop into the air, polarize them on the way down. Okay. I'm also gonna raise your melee defense up by 24%. If this was raising it by like melee attack, oh man, this one is gonna be powerful. But I guess melee defense can be okay. But I wouldn't warn it too much into like raising defense and such. So I feel like if this was raising melee attack, I think this will be a little bit more valuable. But if you do really want some EXQ in terms of like your melee weapon slot, I guess this one can be a good one to grab maybe. Just because you do have a little bit of effects over here, so it can benefit you in some ways and all. But all right, so that's pretty much it for the sixth one over here. I don't see anywhere where this one is really groundbreaking. But in terms of the chest and the leg, you do have some pretty modernized, like portrait over here. So for whatever reason you do, need some of those portrait, I guess you can go for them as well. Let me check the head one more time. The head does not. So the head is probably just a bad overall upgrade in that portrait and all that. So the chest is and the leg is something you can kind of go for if you really need it. But if not, I feel like those are you can just skip the alteration for them as well. So all right, let's now move on to the Gusion Gundam Full City over here. Alright, so now looking at the Gusion Gundam over here. So let's see what the Gusion Gundam do over here. So in terms of the word tag for the Gusion Gundam over here, so this is more of like, a mix, so this one got Gundam type, mid-range, and then close combat. So this one is going to be a little bit more centric toward that shot, but you guys do know that he has a little bit of a melee gimmick toward himself over here. So, let's actually take a look at the head over here and see what we're looking at. So this one is obviously going to be a shot build base. Just look at the head over here. You got Gundam type mid range over here. In terms of the overall stat, the shot attack does come up to like a 10k plus over here, but it's on that low. It's on that really low tier 10k. So I would say there's a lot more better choices out there in terms, just judging this one by like the Sokai tiers or even like the limited time fest tiers over here. Let's take a look at the portrait over here. So in terms of portrait, it's actually not that bad. The first portrait, you do have to shoot down 2 enemies over here, which is in like a quick 1v1, probably not gonna be your best friend over here. Or even like you want to take this onto like a limited time multi-mission, those multi-mission, this will not apply because most of the time it's only that one big boss. So I would say let's say in terms of like the big boss multi-mission or like arena, this might not be the best choice if you want to be using it. But the second portrait is going to be pretty good. You can just basically take it on to any longer type of event where so basically the head is more designed for like if you have more than one enemy or more than two enemy, then that is going to be your a go-to over here. But other than that, any shorter event or like with one enemy type of setup, probably not the one you want to be using over here. So let's move on to the torso over here and see what we're looking at. Can I click on it? Okay, come on. All right, in terms of the torso over here, actually not too bad. Like the stat in terms of the melee department is almost up to the 5k over here. Shot attack is already 5k on that, barely 5k, so it's looking okay-ish over here. I would say the defense on this guy is actually pretty high. Both defense coming in at 5,700, which is respectable, Alright, in terms of the portrait over here, another double EXQ buffing up here. But this one is going to be, you have to use mid-range over here. I feel like over the course of the few weeks already, we have been getting a lot of like, attention in terms of like mid-range and stuff. So I feel like this one is just, adding onto that. So you guys are, running like you guys are using like a mid-range tag over here, I feel like this can be a good option. But the second portrait is only going to be specific to the leg part EX skills, so in that manner I feel like that may not be your best choice now, just because this one is so specific to the leg EX skill, which is there's no problem with that, right? But your other part of the EX skill, like maybe like your arm, your back, or even like your other types, are not going to get the benefit of this 35%, which can be a little bit detrimental depending on like what kind of setup you guys are using. So I would still give this one a credit. Just like this one is a double EXQ buffering. So if you are someone who can fulfill like able to use these two kind of requirements over here, I guess this one would be a pretty good choice to alterate. Because their stat is actually pretty good. You do have pretty good word tag. Like Gundam type is gonna be a viable one for like a shot build. Mid range is gonna be, if you guys are so choose to run that mid range tag over there. In terms of the arm over here, we do have another magazine type EXQ if I recall. Let's see. Alright, in terms of overall stat, wow, the defense is actually pretty high. Like the arm especially. Okay, the arm shot attack is like for carry. That is good. That is like top tier actually. Pairing that up with like a 5k defense, yeah, the arm is looking solid right here. But this one, in terms of the tag, you have Gundam type and close combat, so you're gonna have to do a little bit of a word choice fixing over there. Getting that close combat out of the way. This one, I feel like if you guys are running this, like I said, for the 6th form, the Barbatos 6th form, this one is either you want to put this on your main, either main or sub slot. You gotta make sure the other have like either like a portrait and all that, so you can make sure, so you can have like a good portrait as a backup, right? Or unless you want to EX skill over here, which is not too bad. This one is gonna be, I would say this one is not too good actually. Just because like you have really low magazine. Even this one is like level 10 already. It's only going to be doing B plus power, and D peers over here, which in most cases they're like any alterators, some of them have like even like B peers or even A minus power and such. So I feel like those gonna be a little bit more better. In terms of this one, I would say is, in terms of the EX skill, it's gonna be definitely a little bit more lackluster. But the arm, yeah, that shot attack is that's good. This one is actually viable in like a sub slash situation over here. So I'll give this one a thumbs up as well. If you guys do want any stats sticking up there, this one is gonna be your choice. But I would say the downside is just gonna be the word tag over here in close combat. So if you can fix that, this one will be a good option to run. Alright, moving on to the leg over here. This is where you have your custom EX skill over here. So in terms of overall stat, the defense maintained pretty high. Like I would say it's in that low tier 5,000, which is okay. Like if it was like a little bit better, like like around 5,600 ish, I think that will make this like the overall stat, like that specific parameter, really excellent. With the change gear, you do look at the melee side. It's actually pretty good, coming in at 5k already. So for any sub slot purposes, this one can be a viable option as well. But make sure your main slot has a word tag as well, because you do have an EX skill over here. So this one is going to be your custom EX skill over here. So this one, unfortunately, is only going to give like a melee raise to your squad by 49%. It's not going to give you any like health restoration or no other effects over here. That's why you can see this one is like rocking at 49% instead of like a general 39%. So I mean, if you do want to alterate this one, I think this one, like I'm pretty sure a lot of people would like the cutscene cinematic for this EX skill over here. I wouldn't say it's gonna be like the best, because like I would say this in terms of animation wise, it came out a long time ago, so I would say they're not on par. You know, depending on what kind of scene they're picking these kind of EX skill are from. But this one is a pretty solid one in terms of like stats taking on that. So if you guys are looking for, you know, close combat, for example, this one may be a good choice for you guys out there. But in terms of the shot department, yeah, the shot department, there's no way. It's on that, just that 4,000, which is not good enough. So we can just skip. So the leg is probably gonna be good for like a melee build, but for a shot build is probably not your best bet over here. All right, moving on to the backpack over here. So again, the defense are actually pretty decent, I guess. This one is just a little bit lower. That melee defense is significantly lower. Shot defense coming in at 5k is going to be pretty solid, but nothing too outstanding where you can be using it in like a, you know, specific parameter mode for like arena. So let's see this one. So this one is actually pretty good, A minus and B plus power. So this one will do sufficient damage, you know, dealing good damage and able to, like, you know, bypass a little bit of your your enemy defense and all that. So this one can be a pretty good choice for alteration if you guys do want this kind of EX skill over here. In terms of the stat, I mean, it's okay. Like that upper 4,000 is actually pretty intriguing, but is in terms of the backpack, I wouldn't say this one would deserve to be a sub slot. I feel like for the backpack, most sub slots should be, you know, that has a portrait. And yeah, a lot of backpack actually does not have portrait. It's more of like an any EX skill. So this one probably will not be here for sub slotting. Probably just probably be like the EX skill over here that you want to be using. All right, so in terms of the long rifle over here, let's see what this long rifle do. So this long rifle actually packs a bunch over here, not the offensive stat. This one also packs a little bit of a both defensive value over here. So in terms of the melee defense, not anything too impressive after the change gear. Even like the shot is not the best, because this one is probably, like, if you have estimate, this one is more a little bit more geared towards, you know, like a melee, for example. But the portrait, in terms of the tags, doesn't really reflect that. But I feel like in the actual anime, he was more, I mean, you can say he was like a offensive range powerhouse, but in most case scenario, in like ground type battle, I feel like he was a little bit geared towards that melee. But do let me know. I have not watched like the IBO series in a really long time, so I can be forgetting a lot of scenes and stuff. So do let me know, like. But this one is definitely gonna be like a dual type, you know, just really good in our perspective, right? But in terms of the portrait over here, you do have one of those, like, when enemy is, excuse me, when your armor is 60% or more EX, your enemy EXP power reduced by 30%. So this one can be actually viable. I feel like this one is pretty good. It's not really specific towards, you know, like, oh, shooting or melee. So I feel like in most case scenario, like any custom E skill, if you have this by 100%, that is what I mean, right? If you have this at more than 100%, just that 100%, I feel like you can probably deflect any damage off from their EX skill. So this one, I'll give this one a thumbs up. You know, I usually don't pray these kind of EX skill a lot, but you know, they do have their advantage. You know, just because I don't use it may not mean other people do not use it. So I, you know, like if you guys are, you know, building that really tanky build, this one you can just add this one to your arsenal. In terms of the second portrait over here, so melee damage raised by 10%, so you're taking 10 more damage, 10 more melee damage over here. In terms of the like, you're also gonna get a shooting power boosted by 35%. So this one is an excellent portrait set over here. I'm gonna time at mid range with attacks again. Alright, moving on to the last set over here, the melee or the shield over here. This shield actually does pack a lot of punch to it, like in terms of the overall stat. I would say for the melee department, 4,800 is actually a fairly impressive number. Shot value in terms of that, it's gonna be a little bit lower, but if you guys do just take a look at the overall schematic of it, there I would say the defensive value in terms of the shot is impressive. Yeah, I'll give it to that. Coming in at 6,400. So in like any specific arena mode, this one can be a game changer. In terms of word tag over here, the first portrait is not good, you know, but the second portrait is excellent. It's one of those that I pray a lot because this one actually gives an EXQ buff effect by 30%. So these are the one I usually recommend people using nowadays, just because I have personally tested out and see how good of an output Optoir if you use this kind of portrait, or yeah, this kind of portrait over here. So, but the first portrait is gonna be a little bit of a letdown, unfortunately. But this 30% number over here is a premium number. Like this one, for example, on the first slot, most case scenario is going to be locked to that only 22%, which missing that 8% can be, you know, like a damage dealing change already. So this one I'll definitely give this one a thumbs up over here. So overall, in terms of the Gusion Rebake full city over here, I would say there's few parts, you know, that are pretty sufficient that I would like to get. Like the shield's probably a good one to be, you know, grabbing. You know, like maybe the rifle in terms of like the head and torso, I do have a little bit of a drawbacks to them. So with that being said, this will be pretty much it for these two review over here. Like I said again, because these two are permanent, so there's not going to be any time frame now whether or not you want to alterate them right away. Maybe someday in terms of like the Gusion over here, maybe you pull it off from, you know, like the premium capsule tickets, then you can alterate in that manner. I feel like you don't want to be specifically summoning on that banner, because I feel like that's gonna be not waste of power, but you can be spending them on like different types of banners. So with that being said, this is just a quick review for these two guys over here, and then I'll catch you guys all on the next one.